I believe that free speech platforms like Twitter are a huge threat to media companies because, as you rightly said, citizen journalists go to Twitter, and so Twitter has for at least 4 or 5 years been the source of immediate news, almost like a radio station. And I think that they can have a significant impact on the power of dictatorships, which is why Elon Musk buying Twitter was such a big deal. But my favourite moment of the Canadian trucker movement wasn't your speech, sorry, Ezra. It was actually when they took the fuel cans and they were distributing amongst the convoy, but to the soundtrack of the Thomas Crown affair, and that one went viral. Is there something to be said with the power of humour, and do you think that Rebel News and the Freedom Convoy have won this argument in the end?
Well, no argument is ever completely won, and no argument is ever completely lost, because the argument starts up again the next day. And Rebel News, in that 1 month of February 2022, had 400 million views and impressions of our work, as much as our state broadcaster, the CBC. So we definitely won the idea battle then. But the other side is relentless, and they have been trying to rebrand the truckers as revolutionaries, as violent, extreme, right-wing, etc. So you can have a victory and you can clink champagne, but you got to get back into the battle of ideas the very next day, and it's relentless. Elon Musk is very important in that he showed us the kind of behind-the-scenes censorship that's going on at Twitter, and obviously at YouTube, Instagram, Facebook too. He's allowed other voices that were censored to come back to life. And I think he genuinely talks like someone who believes in freedom of speech. So he is a unique unicorn, and thank God for him. But YouTube, Google, Google's the #1 search engine in the world. I think YouTube is #2. It's owned by Google. Facebook, over 2 billion users. Instagram, part of Facebook. They have such a stranglehold on ideas. They are still implementing the kind of censorship that Elon Musk revealed at Twitter. And I'm afraid that when artificial intelligence starts censoring tweets on a massive scale, not necessarily censoring tweets, but censoring everything, I'm afraid that we may be at the twilight of the golden age of free speech. I mean, I'm afraid that it's going to accelerate. So there's no battle that's ever, take hope in that no battle is ever completely lost. But take fear in that no battle is ever completely won. We won the battle of the truckers, but the other side wants to undo it.
Well, given what we are taught about Western civilization, one might imagine that free speech should be a sacred pillar, and yet in practice, human rights commissions set up by governments around the world, often under conservative leadership, I might add, appear to favour censorship. They have adopted this belief that in order to protect human rights, bureaucrats must maintain an edifice of digital barbed wire. In censorship, in your opinion, is censorship fundamentally an abuse of human rights? And does it ultimately make us less safe?
Yes. A few years ago, I was the publisher of a magazine, and we published the Danish cartoons of Mohammed. So they were published first in Denmark, but I published them in Canada to show our viewers what all the fuss was about. And I was taken before a Human Rights Commission for 900 days. And the complainant was a Muslim imam from Pakistan originally, who said I had hurt his feelings. And by the way, I'm sure I did. But there is no such thing as a human right not to be offended. That's a counterfeit human right that uses the language of human rights, but it's like fake currency. It devalues real currency. And I think we have lost the language of civil rights, and it's now being hijacked by people who use it in an Orwellian way. Trust and safety, that was I think the department at Twitter that was in charge of censorship. Safety? No one was being hurt other than their feelings. So we have to be on guard for these counterfeit human rights, like the human right not to be offended. But it's gone so much further than when I was prosecuted, around 10 years ago now, for the Danish cartoon, about 15 years ago, really. It's back then, there were voices, including liberal voices, who were appalled by the fact that I was being brought before the government because I published some cartoons. Even liberals could see how appalling that was. Well, in the time since then, I'm afraid the center of gravity in media and universities and popular culture has moved towards censorship, towards cancel culture. And all those woke college kids are now lawyers and judges and bureaucrats and censors. And I think that there's never been more voices trying to censor us. Luckily, there's never been more voices wanting to be free. The battle continues, and you're part of that battle, Alexandra, and your online show is part of that. And we have to keep innovating, and because every time we try a new move, the censors try a new move. It's an endless battle, and that's why we can never stop.